everyone, and welcome to today's episode on the Fashion Fables podcast. Here I am welcoming Michele, digital creator based in LA. Michele, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So let's get started. If you can begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your career path, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I had a pretty normal school career path. Went to university, majored in business. At the time, especially since I was really young, I loved acting. So that was my first passion, was acting, doing short films, commercials, that sort of thing, especially being in LA. So while I was majoring in business, I did a lot of theater, a lot of plays, a lot of short films, commercials. And that's kind of where it started with being more on camera. I got a job in tech as soon as I graduated. And while I was juggling tech, I was going to auditions, doing commercials, booking jobs here and there. Probably a couple years down the line, I got onto Instagram. I got on Instagram kind of late, but at the time I still loved being super creative. So I remember one of my first posts was posting something about fashion and then an aesthetic image of my smoothie. So ever since I was younger, I've always wanted to create very aesthetic, stylistic photos. And that has continued on. And then definitely during quarantine, that's when I kind of realized I wanted to shift a little bit more from putting acting onto my Instagram and my socials, more so to being a little bit even more fashion. I had done a lot of print modeling gigs. So that was a lot of my Instagram, was doing photo shoots and stuff. But I always admired the content creators that had the aesthetic feeds and everything went together. And I'm like, how do they do it? So of course, during quarantine, you have some time to yourself to figure out how to do that. And of course, being at home, my apartment was really nice, had a lot of natural light. So I was able to use a lot of that, create kind of a cohesive feed. And my sister was my photographer. Luckily, she enjoyed it. So that was good. And I just started creating a very aesthetic, cohesive feed. So finally, when I was able to go out and shoot, I would start to research different places to do so. And that's kind of where my Instagram is at right now.
That's awesome. I know. It's always so cool when you have this vision of what you want your feed to look like and then it actually comes to life.
Yes.
It's a lot of hard work and shooting content is not easy because I know for me at least I'm very particular with how I like my pictures to look, and so someone will be like, that looks so good, and I'll be like, no,
Agreed.
I have to do it again. But I also think it's awesome that you took it upon yourself over quarantine, because I'm sure you had some free time and you were just like, there's something more I can be doing. And so that was just an awesome way for you to get started. And you've grown so much. I love all your posts. I love especially your baking, because a lot of the content creators I see, it's mainly just pictures of themselves with beautiful backgrounds,
Yes.
that. But I also love that aesthetic. I see it all over Pinterest with the dainty lettering of the little heart-shaped cakes, and I absolutely love it. I actually told my mom that I want that for my 20th birthday in June. So
if you were here, I would definitely bake you one.
Oh.
And I really appreciate you saying those kind words, because when I started, right, it was all fashion, or very much fashion.
Yeah.
And I was worried to put baking out there because that wasn't my niche. And a lot of people are like, stick to your niche. That's what your followers like. And I'm like, I used to ask my close friends, how do I merge baking with fashion? Because I love it so much. And so I'm just very happy to hear, even you saying those words, that you enjoy it, and that I'm able to merge the two together to make sure that my audience still enjoys the content that I'm creating.
Yeah, honestly, I think that aspect of your page makes it unique, and people are like, oh, it kind of shows that you're diverse and can do a bunch of different things and still have that aesthetic feed, because even though you post baking stuff, it doesn't it's not a totally off color from what so it definitely works, and yeah, I really loved it.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to create your account, and what are some goals you have with it, maybe for the future or even currently?
So like I said, when I started, it was still very fashion. Even in high school, I loved fashion, trying to dress up as fashionable as possible. And so when I started Instagram, it was still very much I would love to post, outfits that I'm wearing, as well as just really kind of an aesthetic image. So like I said, it was so funny. I went back down through my old posts. I had posted a banana next to an orange and a glass, trying to make it all cute. And this is how I'm going to make a smoothie. So even back then, I was still trying to get good lighting and, kind of stylized shot of what I was going to be making. So I definitely still created it because of that. And it's crazy to see how much I've grown and where I've started. Ideally, I never, sought out to be a content creator, but now that I'm here and I enjoy it so much, and I know I love being so creative, eventually I would love to do it full time. And not even just on the Instagram, but like I love creating UGC. So that's user generated content. So instead of just posting to my feed, I'm creating, brands and for brands, I'm creating videos and photos that they can use on their paid social ads for the website. So I'm literally like the videographer, the photographer, and you're using what you already see on my Instagram, but I'm creating that for brands. So it's like I don't even have to post on my Instagram. I'm doing that for them like as a job. So I think that's amazing. That's eventually where I want to get to is, creating the content for them as well as content for my socials as well. So kind of merging the two together and having that as my full-time job.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think like so few, like podcast guests that I've had in the past, they've kind of a few of them have said that their goal was to kind of do social media full time. And I think like it's just something that like you're so passionate about it, obviously. And so to be paid for that is almost like I'm sure like a dream job for you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've done like a bunch of collaborations and stuff like that. And so you kind of know what goes into it and stuff like that. And I think that's definitely a dream like you should work towards. Like I know people are like, "Oh, like how do you make money based on your content?" But like people just don't understand that like in this day and age like it's such like a big thing. Like even like TikTok and
It
stuff like that, like people are making so much money and like a lot of my friends are like we should just drop out and like do TikTok and
It's
like
hard to see, yeah, when you see those people blowing up and you're like, wow,
yeah,
I could be making that. And even for me, like I'm still starting out on this journey, and it's because the industry in itself is like kind of new, and you're your own boss. You have to figure out your own rates, how much you want to charge. And it's so
yeah.
difficult, like a big company versus a small business. And you also don't want to undervalue yourself. So it is like a little bit rocky navigating it, at the beginning. And I'm still learning as I go as well.
Exactly. But I think that like the unknown should not like keep you from still working towards that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes like
Yeah.
I always say like the most beautiful things happen when you just like let life take its course and you obviously keep working hard, but what's meant to happen will. And so I think that's just an important thing, like going forward and stuff like that. But definitely, I also have that goal. Like, I don't know, like it just sounds like so cool. And yeah, but yeah,
It
that's
is cool. I
awesome.
have to say, like, now that I've, it's probably really grown within the last year, during quarantine, and it's been able to really grow. And you're like, wow, you can do this as a job. And you've looked up to influencers before, and I've looked up to influencers. I'm like, how do they do it? And then they get paid. But it is work. And, you are your own boss, you're your own stylist, your own photographer, your own videographer, and you're literally a team of one, and you're managing contracts. You're talking to brands. And I think, like you said, like people don't notice that on the surface level. They're like, okay, you just post a pretty photo, but there is a lot of things that go behind the scenes. And it is quite amazing that, hopefully eventually I'll be able to make this full time.
Yeah, I agree. And then one more thing is like I feel like people always think that like people who create content and stuff like that are like so cool and like whatever, but they don't understand how much work it is. And you see what you see because we take
Exactly.
a lot of time to make sure that everything is like
It's
I don't know.
perfect. I mean, it's
Yeah,
social media, right? So it's nothing, it's not real life. And I think it's always important to state like this isn't always real life. I'm in sweats a lot of the time,
yeah,
working at home, right? And then of course I like dressing up, but that doesn't happen every single day.
right, right. So where do you shoot your content going into this? And then what gives you inspiration for your feed?
Yes. So based in Los Angeles, obviously shoot my content all around LA, sometimes in my apartment. And over the last, year and a half, I've really kind of like curated my area of spots that I love to take photos of. So my feed is very kind of pastel, romantic, dreamy, a lot of like more white backgrounds. I love like obviously like Parisian inspo, right? Love that. Wish that I was in Paris all the time, kind of dreaming that way.
Yeah.
So definitely looking at places where I can get inspiration and kind of have that image that, I'm on vacation or I'm just very dreamy, and it kind of takes you away from regular life. So what I usually do is like, obviously not when I'm driving, but like if my boyfriend is driving, I learned this tip from Mina Marlena, who's like a huge inspiration. So I can talk about her later, but you can literally take a photo. And I didn't realize this, but if your iPhone, your Android can probably do it too. Take a quick snap, even if you just like a wall or something. Later on, you can pull it up in your photos and it'll tell you the exact coordinates of where it is or the exact address. So I just Google the address later, check out exactly where it is. I'll go onto like Google Maps, Street View, see if I like it, and then I'll bookmark it for later.
Oh, that's
So that's
awesome.
like a huge way of like, it's so easy. If you're driving, if you're just out like to lunch with friends and you're like, this is a really cute area, snap a photo and you can come back to it later. So you don't have to like annoy people. We're like, wait, let me figure out where exactly this is. You can figure out where the image is later. And then also definitely taking inspiration from other content creators. based in Los Angeles. And I think I had said this in a story recently, but you can, of course, use like the hashtag of your location,
Mhm.
Los Angeles, wherever you are. And then if you scroll through the hashtag and see some images that you might like of, that area. I like to consider myself a really good detective nowadays. Like I will Google like white building in, the valley somewhere. And like, I will just keep going through Google images. And I think that's where people don't realize it is work to find certain locations if you really want to be specific in where you shoot. And like I said, Mina Marlena is a huge inspiration of mine. Um, and obviously where she shoots, I love it. Sometimes I get inspiration, and sometimes I just happen to come across that same location. I'm like, oh, she just shot here, it's so beautiful. So definitely a lot of creators in my niche, if I see an image that I like, I will try and find it. Sometimes I'll reach out to them, but for the most part I just try to do my own detective work and find out where it is. But in addition to just snapping photos, if I really like an area, and now I have like a whole list in my notes of like locations that I really like, so that I can go ahead and shoot in those locations.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think the most important thing is kind of just like being creative and understanding that like you are where you are. So kind of make the best of it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
obviously, it's so funny because I would love to be like one of the things that attracted me to your page was that Parisian vibe because I
Mm,
totally love that. I love the pastels, like baby pinks and stuff like that. But obviously, like we don't live there, and so we can't like do you know what I mean? We can't just be posting pictures of the Eiffel Tower whenever we
yes.
want and croissants, unfortunately. But you kind of just have to make the best of it. And like if you kind of know the vibe of like let's say even like France or Paris, like you can find buildings or like architecture near where you are in LA and kind of make it work and have like a
Mhm.
similar vibe from it. And I think that's what kind of makes it special that your feed is totally like what you want it to be. And so
Yeah.
even by just like finding those locations, it just kind of means that like you're always eager to find new spots so that your feed is always staying current and up to date. And I think that's like so important. And I think another thing is like for you to not always have to like disclose where you are because sometimes like people being curious about it is like it's more interesting, do you know what I mean, rather than just like
Yeah.
knowing where you are all the time. Obviously for like privacy reasons I feel like social media you kind of have to be careful a little bit, but also just for like your sake, like if you have a spot like you don't need to, you know what I mean, like I don't know.
And
So
it
I
honestly, if someone like another creator messages me and they're like, "Hey, girl, where is this location?" I will
yeah,
disclose it. Like you can DM me; it's totally fine.
yeah,
Especially, I notice a lot of girls that are visiting to LA will notice a certain building. They're like, "Oh my gosh, babe! Like, where is this location? I'm
mhm,
gonna be traveling here for vacation." And I'm like, "Absolutely! Like, go shoot there." And like,
yeah,
I guess in that sense, we have that support. Where if I were to reach out to another influencer or content creator, I'm like, "Hey, just be polite. Like, I would love to know where this location is." I think it's much better just to be able to DM, and don't be afraid to DM too if you want to know a location versus like mostly I won't be putting it public in my comments just because I
mhm,
feel like it's like you said for privacy reasons. But
yeah.
like I'm more than happy if you DM me to share the location.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what makes the community of like Instagram creators so like awesome because everyone's just so supportive and they'll just comment on your posts like beautiful and just like I don't know, it just makes it all worth it and stuff like that.
It is, and they are really kind. And I have to say, like, it's crazy because some of a lot of us live in different areas, but I've made so many friends online, and I've just never met them
I
in
know.
person. They're so supportive and they're so nice, and you do feel really warm and like they're the kind of that stereotype where, oh my gosh, influencers, I mean, they're catty and stuff. And like I'm so happy to note like that's not my story. Like all the girls
Yeah.
that I know are so kind and they're so supportive. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm very lucky, but
No, exactly. Like I've met so many people that I would consider like I guess you could say like an internet friend, but also like we exchange numbers and we actually talk and like we meet up. Do you know what I mean? So it's more so like finding people that are similar to you that aren't directly like within your community or in your local town or state or whatever, because like that's how you learn about other people. That's how you, I don't know, kind of grow as a person and stuff like that. So I'm also grateful. That's probably one of my favorite parts about having a creator account is that you're meeting these people that you just find genuine. Do you know what I mean? Because
yes.
it's just so
I mean,
important.
I made friends with like girls in like Italy, and they're like, "Come
Yeah,
visit." I'm like, "That's my dream. Let's have a picnic on the hills in Italy." And I'm
I
like,
know.
it is crazy, I think, and that's one of the great benefits of social media is meeting friends like that from all over the world. And like, hopefully, eventually, like maybe I can go visit her, and like that would be amazing. And she's like, "Bake your cakes, and we'll have picnics in Italy." And I'm
Like
like,
it's
"What a
so
dream come
exciting.
true."
Yeah. I know it's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you had that experience, and I'm sure you're gonna continue to meet new people and stuff like that, and that's what just makes it so fun.
Mhm.
So, can you share a bit about your passion for baking and some of your favorite goods to make?
Yes. I mean, I'm so happy you asked that. So let's just start. Like I started baking probably when I was like 17, 18, and I'm completely self-taught. So I saw some, like I was watching TV and if anyone actually knows, it's Ace of Cakes by Duff Goldman. And I think it was like on the Food Network. And he made some amazing, custom fondant cakes. And I was like, this is so cool. It's edible art. And I started reading a lot of articles, reading a lot of books, and I just taught myself. So a few years went down, like by, and my friends were like, why don't you, create a website and like price these cakes? Like they're really good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
am I good enough for that? So one year I got a referral for a huge dessert table, which was very stressful, but I was very happy about. So I created a whole dessert table for a client. She referred me to a big client, and then it kind of started rolling from there. So yeah, I love baking so much. And like you said before, I love matching it to my aesthetic. And I think I love making dreamy pastel, feminine, baked goods. And that's kind of what I'm known for. Even before, as the years have gone by and I've kind of changed in the way I've done different baking stuff, all my friends have always been like, Michelle does Instagrammable desserts, like way back when. They're like, that's what Michelle does. So I'm very known for that. But of course, making very tasty desserts as well. So right now I'm very much doing like very vintage, dreamy cakes, which I really enjoy. I mean, that's exactly aligns with my aesthetic, what I like to do. I actually have an order pickup in a couple hours, so I was finishing
Oh,
that up last night. So probably right now my favorite to make is definitely the vintage cakes. I love it so much. I love the design, and also that you can play around with different colors, and each one can be slightly different. So it's like, if you want a lilac or you want like red, and a client comes in and is like, oh, I want this certain color to match my theme for my event, all the cakes can still have that vintage look to it, but you can change up the coloring, and make it as dreamy and pretty as you want, add gold pearls, things like that. And like, to me, it truly is edible art, and I really enjoy it a lot. And I think in addition to the vintage cakes, I do love making French macaroons and decorated sugar
mm.
cookies. And French macaroons, I had like, that's for anyone who knows desserts, French macaroons are actually notoriously one of the hardest desserts to make.
Mhm.
And I've gone through a roller coaster making batches that did not look good, took me a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Um, but now I have it down, and I love making French macaroons. And I think a lot, for a lot of, especially my close family, that's their favorite dessert that I make. They're like, move over cakes. We love the French macaroons. Give us more of the French macaroons. So I love doing that. And especially for spring, it's getting more creative with it. And I hope like down the line, even for creating content, I already have ideas. Like I would love to do hand painted floral macaroons, creating rose macaroons, not just your standard macaroons that you see. We want to make it dreamy. We want to make it over the top. So I love taking like a standard dessert and really twisting it into my own aesthetic and what I really like. So yeah, I just really enjoy baking, and I hope to continue for a very long time. And my hope is to eventually do more so influencer events, because I'm based in LA. I would love, maybe an influencer partners with a big beauty brand and they're doing like a little brunch. I would love to do the desserts for them, as well as potentially doing classes. I would love to do a little class, and I think that would be my brand, to be like, come here and like we can decorate really pretty, cakes, make floral macaroons. So that's hopefully where I want to go down the line.
That is amazing, and I don't know, it's just so inspiring because, like I said, it's different and it's something that not everyone can bake. You have to be very detail oriented, patient, I'm sure, and with the macaroon thing, like, my aunt, like, bakes too, and she's always saying how hard it is because, like, I guess the dough, like, the shell of the macaroon is so delicate that it can easily break,
Absolutely. Yes.
and she's like, "It takes so much practice and time," like, she's went to classes and stuff like that, but, like, everyone loves them, so do you know what I mean? And that's so funny how your
Yes.
family likes them the best because you can just
Yes.
pop them in your mouth and they're just so good.
They're so good. So many different flavors. And like
Yeah,
the texture is so unique, I think, to other desserts, where it's like airy, but a little bit chewy.
like
But
airy,
and just like
yeah,
that. Yes, it is.
yeah.
Yeah. And it is very difficult. And I've gone through batches a weekend, like 5 batches where they look like they've exploded. And now luckily, like you have to count how many times you're mixing.
Yeah,
But now I can eyeball it, and it makes me very happy that I finally got to that point.
right, and so, like, for the coloring, like, do you just use, like, a
Mhm.
dye to like, let's say, like, pink,
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean?
Food dye. And then I have so many I have edible food pens. So like if you ever want to draw on macaroons, draw on cookies, it's all
Okay,
edible. I also like using edible gold a lot. Edible
okay.
24 karat gold. Deck out everything in gold
Oh my
because I
god.
love it very much.
literally, like, how can like a macaroon be prettier than literally like some people? Like, they're actually so
It's
pretty.
gorgeous. Macaroons are a work of art. And
I know.
yeah, a little, blush macaroon with a hint of edible gold,
Oh my
and you're
god,
good to
perfect.
go.
Those are like my favorite colors, like blush and gold. Yeah, oh my god, I love that. So, moving on to more of like your fashion style, can you like describe your personal fashion style, how you kind of express yourself through what you wear, and kind of just who you are through what you wear?
Yeah, I definitely would describe myself as like very dreamy, pastel, romantic, I think are like the three things that would describe my style. And I mean, ever since I was young, and I always it's crazy to imagine that I get to play dress up, and I get paid for it, or I get to people enjoy my content. Whereas when I
Yeah.
was young, I was running around in little dresses as well. So it's funny that like my style in that aspect has never changed. I've always been like kind of the pastel girl. I love, the bright colors, and it makes me happy. And I think it does kind of allow you, even as adult, to play dress up in a more, I guess, in a more adult way. But it's like in a way to express yourself, almost in a form of like wearable art.
Mhm.
And I think it's just amazing. Like I've never really been a girl who wears a lot of like jeans and tees, which is fine. Like if you like doing that, and some girls express themselves so well with wearing like jeans and tees, it's just
Yeah.
not who I am. I love the
Mhm.
dresses. I love skirts, pretty dainty tops and bralettes, and that's definitely my style. And at the same time, though, I can really appreciate like the street style, like the black blazers, like the black slacks. It's just something that I just haven't gotten into, but I definitely have appreciation for it. And
Yeah.
one day, hopefully, I can like kind of merge it all together. But for now, definitely, like I have very much the pastel, dreamy fashion, and like that's what I enjoy doing a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know. I just can't see myself wearing like sometimes I can't see myself in like those chunky sneakers. Like I just think I would look ridiculous. Like I don't know. Like
I want that street style. Like I love it where girls are wearing like, cute little crop top with like the baggy jeans and like you said, the
yeah.
chunky sneakers. I'm like, they look so cool.
Yeah,
They
no,
look
it's
so cool. I want to
yeah.
pull that off, but I just have yet to do it.
It's
So
it definitely is super cool, but I agree. I'm more into like I always say like I wish I could wear like a dress like all year round because I just love it. It's nice and flowy and I don't know, it
yes.
just I guess I'm like a very like feminine pinks and like all that stuff. So that's just kind of me, but I really appreciate like all everyone's fashion differences because I think that's what makes everyone unique and different and stuff like
Agree.
that. I feel like if everyone were to wear the same thing, it would be super boring and stuff like that. And I think that's why there's so many like trends out there. So you can kind of pick and choose what you do want to wear
Yes.
and what suits you and stuff like that. And I'm always up for like being like a little bit different and like trying new things. You know what I mean? So maybe
Yeah.
one day I will purchase a pair of chunky sneakers and love them. You know what I
You
mean?
and I both.
Yeah, but I guess the time just hasn't come, but it's okay. It's
I
okay.
agree. I
But
think, when you're drawn to something and you just like it so much, it's
yeah.
hard to change it up. And like I do own like, obviously a few darker things, and like I'll wear that in my day to day. Because obviously what I post on my feed is curated. So I'm not wearing, flowy dresses out all the time. But
Yeah.
my main fashion definitely is dresses. Like you said, it's so comfortable. People are like, oh, you're so dressed up. I'm like, I literally just slipped on this dress. It did not
Right.
take a lot of work.
Exactly.
And it's flowy, it's
Yeah.
easy. And like I'm very obviously it's great because I'm in Los Angeles. So I'm very lucky that it's
The
very warm
weather.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I get to wear dresses a lot. So I understand like especially in different climates, you don't have the ability to wear like a dress and kind of that style all the time. And that's why I do appreciate all the different styles. And like you said, one day I'll hopefully get into like more of the street style and combine that into my own outfits.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm sure it's like amazing being in that warm weather all the time in LA. Like I live in New Jersey, so the weather is very like we have all four seasons. And so right now it's starting
Mhm.
to get warmer because it's like March and it's like going to be spring. But like I'm just starting to, but I love that. And like obviously, like in the winter, if I want to wear a dress, I have to wear like stockings or tights
So
or
many
something like
leggings.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still wear it even if like I'm looked at as crazy, like whatever.
I think it is hard, but I think that's why it's amazing to see other creators being able to create that type of content in different seasons. I give you
Yeah.
guys props because it's hard, right? And at the same time, though, I do appreciate like, I'll notice like a content or a photo in the snow. I'm like, wow, that outfit is so cute for the snow. And like, I wouldn't be able to pull that off. I'm like, you're dressed so cute. Or like they're, layering with the jacket, with the jeans and
Yeah.
for winter, like
I agree.
that's a really amazing style as well that I've just never been able to like exercise, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome to see differences and stuff like that. So, is there any advice you have for living a healthy and balanced lifestyle, staying present, just living in the moment? I don't know. I think all these things kind of help a person become their best self. So, if you have anything to share about that, that would be awesome.
I think, it's funny. I'm not the best person for that, only because I literally juggle a full-time job with
Mhm.
creating content and then my baking. So I think and then people always ask me, where do you find the time to do this?
Yeah.
Right. And I guess, well, maybe I do it. So how do I do it successfully? And honestly, it's being organized really helps. I am someone who writes down everything on my to-do list. And even if I don't get it done that day, don't be
Yeah.
hard on yourself
Yeah.
because you're not super, you're not a superhuman. You can't get everything done. And so to me, it's so important to be organized and also to be present, living the moment is to realize like, I think we're always part of this hustle culture, right? Where even for me, it's like, we want the next step, we want this next success, but it's also just take a moment to step back and realize like, you're doing well, you're happy, you're healthy. What are your accomplishments that you've already done? Like, we're
Yeah.
always striving for more, myself included,
True.
but just think about the things that you just did maybe this week, maybe projects you finished, I don't know, relationships that you've built, and to be happy about what you've done and to enjoy those moments. Because if we're always just striving for more, we forget about all the things that we've already just done, right? And we just keep wanting more and more and more. Just take a moment. And also, like, even for me, to say no more. I'm a yes girl, so I will take on everything on my plate, and then I'll get overwhelmed. And I think
Yes.
I'm still learning in that too, where you need to prioritize your mental health and just learn to say no, and that you honestly don't have the time. Because if
Yeah.
people are asking more and more of you, they might not know that you're juggling, X, Y, and Z, that you have so much going on and you want a personal life. And it's okay to say no. I'm like, hey, I don't have that time to do it, and they're all very understanding. So I think that for me is really just understand that like you are having accomplishments like in real time. Don't always feel like you need to strive for something, consistently in that kind of hustle culture. Admire those accomplishments that you've done. And even for me, like, oh, what did you do the past week, the past couple weeks? Enjoy those special moments. And I think even for content creation, that has really helped as well, because it allows you to kind of get away and kind of create that dreamland escape, which I feel like it's art, and it allows you to just get away from like the normal 9 to 5 or like the busy days. And also I have to say, even for like living a healthy lifestyle, I like went on a kind of not juice cleanse, a smoothie cleanse like the other week. That was really good. It made my body feel really good as well. And it's just to like balance, even just like eating healthy versus like, no, I still like to go out and have dessert every once in a while. And just to be mindful of your body. So
Right.
yeah.
No, that was super awesome, even for me to hear because I'm also that yes girl that is just like, I feel
Mhm.
like I'm letting somebody down if I say no, but it's almost just like if you keep saying yes, 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 then nobody's gonna understand that like you do have boundaries and like you do need time for yourself. And like that's super important too. Like just like going your like I did that this morning. I like went to my favorite coffee shop because like I came home for the weekend and it just was like what I needed. Do you know what I mean? There's sometimes no explanation for why you need to do what you need to do, but like you just do for like your sanity, for your mental health and all that stuff because you and I both we live a busy lifestyle and stuff like that that sometimes we forget that like we need to just like slow it down and stuff like that cuz
Yes.
I'm also the type of person that's like always like okay, I need to be doing something more like I'm not doing enough like why didn't I get this and this done? But then I remember like you were saying there's only 24 hours in a day and you can always start again tomorrow. Do you know what I'm saying? And like
Mhm.
nothing like if it's not worth thinking about for more than like 5 minutes like in the end then why am I stressing over it now, do you know what I mean? So I think it's just like remembering your priorities and remembering what is really important and then the rest is just like life will happen as it should. And I think just living in the moment is super important for me and for anyone listening just to realize that like it's okay to take a break, it's okay to prioritize what you need to
Yes,
do because you'll only come back stronger and rather than feeling burnt out and stuff like that because that's also
absolutely.
never good when like especially like content creators like you need that like creativity and that energy to always be thinking of new ways to kind of put yourself out there and shoot content and stuff like that. But if you have this like fog of just go 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 you never actually like
Yeah.
think, do you know what I mean? So all of that is super important.
I agree. I absolutely agree with all of it. I think, especially with the burnout, and It's happened to me a couple times, right? And I think it's hard as like saying yes all the time and realizing you need to take off a couple days. And no matter, I think in that sense, I not say I have a unique situation, but because I do have a full-time job, when you're trying to juggle being a content creator at the same time, it's very difficult because it's hard to create content during the week. So you have to create it on the weekend. So it is hard where you don't have as much time off as you need. And you have to realize to not get burnt out, you need to take those days off sometimes in order to recuperate, spend time with family and friends, especially for your mental health, and for yourself.
Exactly. That was so nice. So finally, Michelle, what is one piece of advice you would give for any of those hardworking creators out there like yourself who, I don't know, just what's one thing you would say to them?
It's crazy. I would say be consistent and don't give up. And I feel like it kind of is cliche with saying don't give up, but
It's
things
true.
will really happen. Even for me, I had this thought, a year ago, wow, it would be more than a year ago, 2 years ago, my sister and I, we look at content creators, we're like, wow, they get to wear all these beautiful clothes and they create all this content. And like, how do we get there? I'm there now.
Right.
And we still have these conversations saying, do you remember way back when we used to
Yeah.
discuss that? She helped me take the photos, she loves being a photographer and we both love fashion. And so you can see your growth truly happening. And it's because I was consistent. You are hardworking and you don't give up. And it is just crazy to think back and realize those dreams that you have now become reality. And so those are definitely the two things I would say. And it sometimes you can be discouraged, and like those are times where like if you need to take a break, that's fine. And especially if you're just starting out, it can be a little daunting. And don't if you don't want to go full force into it, maybe you start off a little bit here and there and being content creator, having your friends take your photos, or even at home. That's where I started. Take photos at home. And I actually have a whole YouTube um what's it called? YouTube video on like how to create content at home. And people have found that really helpful. And it's like, you need some lighting, you need a little background, like a little backdrop, super easy, a sheet, and you're good to go, and
Yeah.
your phone. And so I think it's really just being consistent, and just don't give up, because truly things will start happening. And like, even this last week, I signed like a really big brand deal that I'm super excited
Oh,
about.
awesome.
With
Yeah.
like a huge brand that I can't say just yet, but it really makes you realize like, wow, this can happen, and like my dreams are coming true. And it's so nice to be able to say that and just realize like where you came from. Yeah, don't give up, keep working at it. It will happen, and that's the advice that I would give.
Oh, I love that. I know. I tell it to everybody too. Like it seems scary at first, but if you have your mind to something, like if you truly care about something, then you're gonna work at it and you're gonna do it. And you might have those moments or those patches where like you feel discouraged or like, am I doing what I'm supposed to? Am I at the right place at the right time? Like, is my feed good enough? Like you always have those
Mhm.
questions that kind of make you like doubt yourself and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, there's this quote and it's just like you're something about like you don't think you have enough potential, but others are like, I don't know, fearful of your potential, almost like you don't know what other people are thinking. Like people think that you have it all and you live this perfect life. No one does. And so you just need to like remember like your morals, your values, what you stand for and stuff like that. Also never give up and like surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed and stuff like that because that's super important, and people who want to motivate you and stuff like that. It's kind of hard sometimes, but like you just can't listen to the outside noise of people telling you like, oh, you can't do that, or that's kind of impossible. Like, what are you thinking? Because like if it's in your head and it's something you want to do, then you'll make it possible. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And like you shouldn't intimidate people, obviously, but you should also know your worth enough to know that like you can do something even if somebody says that you
Yeah,
can't.
it's the
You know,
confidence. It's the confidence to be able to say,
yeah,
hey, I can do this even despite you saying that. And I think, like you said, if you're first starting out and people are like, oh, you're gonna do that, and like, don't listen to the haters. You can do it. And I think, like you said, it would be amazing. Like you can start off from somewhere, really work hard, don't give up. And start small, and that's okay. Because truly, like, growth can be amazing. You never know what could happen overnight, and like what consistent hard work can do for you. And like, I feel like I am a prime example. Like, it's just so funny, like talking to my sister, oh, I want to do that and I want to wear
like
those
thinking
outfits.
it's so out of your reach, and then you being there, and
Absolutely.
like, yeah,
Yes. Now
yeah.
I'm living in it. So it is very crazy. Yes.
That is awesome. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. I honestly love this conversation. It was awesome. And I feel like we touched on so many different topics and stuff like that. So thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was great. It was wonderful.
Oh.